Hi, I'm Michael from Korean. I'm developing of Ships and Scoundrels, and you are listening to the Scene World podcast.
It's the Scene World podcast. My name is AJ, and that is Jurg over there, and you can't see him or me because this is an audio podcast once again.
Wow.
That's a fine intro right there. In a minute we're talking. Yeah. Yes, in a minute we're
it's
talking.
Getting old a bit, but
it is
so often.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could try to mix it up, you know.
So it's
Scene World podcast. This is.
Yeah, episode 115.
Yes. Sort of.
Yeah. No, we will not name it that.
This is, in a minute, we're talking to Roy Shildt, Mr. Awesome. This is part 2 of our interview with Roy Shildt. So the numbering is going to be a little bit weird, but that's okay. You'll understand. But yeah, so we talked to him a few months ago. And we covered kind of his background, and how he got into all this stuff and whatnot. And in this one, we'll look more into the controversy stuff and the current state of Mr. Awesomeness.
Right.
So that is in just a second. Before we do that, there is a couple of minutes of news we have to cover. Since Jurg has 2 and I have 2, I don't know who should start.
Yeah, I'll let you start. Why not? Okay.
The first one I got is pretty old, actually, and I just now saw it, which is Perifractic, Retro Recipes. He's got a YouTube channel. He used a C64, an old dial-up modem, and a transceiver of some type to communicate with the ISS, the International Space Station, via packet radio.
Oh yeah.
This happened back in January, so this is, you know.
Wasn't that from Retro Recipe?
Yeah. Yes, that's what I said.
Right.
Yeah. So it's just an interesting thing that you can do.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't see it until just recently, and this is going back to January, so we're behind on this one a little bit, I think. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. We'll put a link to the video for that.
I saw the video. Unfortunately, didn't get an answer from them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. As far as I remember, he didn't get a reply.
Well, I guess they were able to at least reach out to them. I'm sure between the amount of people on Earth that are using packet radio, old stuff like that, they probably get 1,000 pings a day that they got to ignore.
Probably
ham radio and stuff like that. So one the C64 probably isn't going to get a response. But if we all harass them simultaneously with our C64s, we might get a better chance that they'll respond to us.
True.
So that's that. That's the first piece I got.
Okay.
You want to take one?
Yeah. Apogee is back.
Hey.
Yeah, we did an interview with 3D Realms, and that was in 2015 when...
That was one of the very early ones.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a podcast. It was for the Frankfurt Film Museum.
Oh, okay. Well, we did one for a podcast too, didn't we?
Yes.
A long time ago.
Yeah, but not with Scott Miller.
No.
And Apogee is Scott Miller. Frederick Schreiber and Mike Nielsen is 3D Realms.
Right. Yes.
Right. So 3D Realms is already back and in Danish hands, where Scott Miller is also a part of, but Apogee is Scott Miller's root company, I would say, that also invented the shareware concept. And that is what we spoke about for the Film Museum on a Wednesday evening on a Twitch show. That was unfortunately the one where you haven't been a part of because you didn't have time that day.
I wasn't there.
So, the
3D Realms podcast, by the way, was episode number 4.
You see?
That's
pretty
how
early,
far back we're going, yeah.
So it all started with Apogee in 1987.
Mm-hmm.
And they are back, baby. And Scott Miller also writes in the announcement that they want to concentrate on collector box versions and stuff. So something for the retro collectors like myself. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Well, and along the side is also a video announcement. And yeah, and John St. John, the voice actor of Duke Nukem, piece of cake, actually made the announcement on YouTube. So everybody's pretty much hyped, especially I guess in the PC retro scene.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. I would imagine.
Apogee only released on the PC mainly.
Really?
Yeah. Most other things they released were contract work, outsourced.
Okay. Yeah.
Scott Miller talked a bit about that in that interview, which we will link, of course, in the podcast description, so you can
Yes.
have a travel back 6 years ago when that happened. Right. So
Yeah.
your second part.
Yeah. My second thing is remember when you get your C. Oh, I just hit the microphone with my head. Remove that. Remember when you get your C64, you get your little buyer's guide with all the things that were available at the time.
Not in Germany.
Not in Germany.
Not for me, no.
I've
Not 1990 when I got mine.
Okay. Well, I in '87 or '86 or whatever the hell it was, I got mine. They had these little buyer's guides that were just little books that showed you everything that was available at the time for the 64. There is now a online buyer's guide. It is run on the www.c64os.com website.
Oh.
And which is run by Greg Nasu. Nachu, I don't know how you pronounce that last name, Nacu, but he's got a project. The page. It looks a lot like that old buyer's guide where you're looking at featured products, and it's gamepad controllers and patches, and then there's all the different vendors.
But from the present.
From the present, from right now, the stuff you can get right now.
Nice.
And being online means it can change as things, change. Nice. ID 64, fast loader cartridges, internally mountable drives, direct mount SD2I ECs, IEEE 488 stuff, cables, combination storages, VIC-20 stuff. There's a ton of different things. Every different SD2I EC drive variation known to mankind, and there are a ton of them.
Wow.
So there's lots of those.
No.
Yeah.
And
so
there's a lot out there.
Yeah. So that's really it's. I'm scrolling through this thing, and I've been scrolling through it for some time now, and I'm not even halfway through. So it's a really cool way to find out what is available right now for the machine.
The hours he must have spent compiling that database and stuff.
Yeah, he must have spent a long time. There's the SID effects under audio.
Of course.
SID to SID board, the stereo in SID, the mix SID, the SID Cart 2, the SID Symphony 2, all these ARM SID, all this stuff. There's a ton of things on this.
Stand back, I'm armed.
So we'll put a link to that so everyone can check that out and buy some stuff.
Nice. So, second news piece for me, Piepacker. Piepacker, the Kickstarter.
Yes.
Just went live today. And that was our last podcast guest. And we will release this podcast episode here when there are still 3 weeks to go.
Okay.
Because we did that other interview early, so the follow-up will be very early too. So, and Benjamin, the CEO from our last podcast, didn't promise too little. You can get a lifetime premium subscription, including also adapters for the cartridge reader, for NES, Super NES, Master System, and Mega Drive / Genesis in the USA. So pretty awesome. Alrighty, time to stop it.
Yes.
Today we are having our special guest Roy Shildt again. Welcome back, Roy. You are mainly known for Missile Command, being a high score player, having had high scores and stuff, and also being a part of King of the Kong in a way. And now you are back to talk about other stuff connected to that.
I was the driving force behind the King of Kong. Without Roy Shildt, there is no King of Kong.
Okay.
The King of Kong started because I bought Steve Wiebe that computer board.
Oh.
All right. I just want to mention a little thing about Steve Wiebe and that computer board. The thing is, the King of Kong is a story about a conflict between Billy Mitchell and Steve Wiebe. That's but that's just a subset of what the real story is. The real story has nothing to do with that conflict. The real story is, Roy, you've seen. You remember? I sent you a copy of the book.
I didn't read it yet. It's at the moment on the way. It's on the way from.
Read it.
Yeah, AJ's
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in that book, you'll see a copy of page 384 from the Guinness Book of World Records, 1985, where I was the first computer athlete inducted into the Hall of Fame. You remember that page?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. See, I was the first computer athlete inducted into the Hall of Fame for playing just Missile Command. And Billy Mitchell thought that was unfair because he had 5 world records. He had Ms. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong Jr., and Burger Time. He had the 5 world records. Bill Mitchell thought he was more deserving of me, and I said to Billy, I'm more, even though I have only 1 world record, it's a major record. It's a difficult record. Your 5 records put together aren't as good as this 1 Missile Command record. That was my basic argument to Bill Mitchell, which upset him greatly. Follow what I'm saying?
Right. Yes.
Okay. 20 years later, all his records are gone, and I still have the Missile Command record. All right. So, but actually, the last record that he lost was the Donkey Kong to Steve Wiebe. Steve Wiebe, he did it on a double Donkey Kong board. It was 942,000. Was up on the Twin Galaxies website, and then shortly thereafter, I spoke to Walter Day, and I said, well, there you go. I told you Bill Mitchell was wrong. He thought he was more deserving to be in the Hall of Fame than I was. And now you can see he's wrong because my Missile Command record is still good, and he doesn't have any. And when Bill Mitchell found out about that, he went crazy. That's when he went nuts. He couldn't take it. Roy Shildt has a Missile Command score, and I don't have any records at all. He just went crazy. He couldn't take it. He took down Steve Wiebe. He found an excuse to take down Steve Wiebe's Donkey Kong score, and he also found an excuse to take down Tim Zerbe's Donkey Kong score to make him so he would have at least 1 world record left. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay? Because he's nuts. He had to have a record in something. So I found out about what he did, and I knew it was BS. So I called Steve Wiebe. I got a hold of his email, finally spoke to him on the phone, and I told him what Bill Mitchell had done. He's taken down your score because he's a jackass, and he just can't stand not having a world record when my Missile Command score was still standing. And I told him blah, blah, blah. And Steve Wiebe, he didn't really even care at all. Okay? He said, oh, he's laughing at me. He thought I was crazy or something. So I told Steve, you can't let Billy get away with this. I said, Steve, I'll tell you what. I'll buy you a Donkey Kong board, but you have to promise to reset the world record to put this idiot in his place. He didn't care. If I didn't offer to buy, it had nothing to do with he couldn't afford to buy a board. It had nothing to do with it. He just couldn't care less. And I had to cajole him into going for that record by buying him a board. If I didn't offer to buy him a board, there'd be nothing right now. There'd be no Donkey Kong. There'd be nothing. It's all me. I was the driving force behind the whole thing because Steve Wiebe basically didn't have the balls to do it on his own. I had to force him to do it. And
either that or he didn't really care, perhaps.
He didn't care. He didn't care. I mean, he left. I mean, maybe it wasn't as important to him, but it became more important later on as when I bought him the board. Now, I bought the board from a guy. I bought it on my credit card to a guy in Utah. All right, the guy I never knew. Got it, found it online, and the board was sent from Utah directly to Steve Wiebe. All right, it wasn't sent to me. I'm the guy who purchased the board, so the billing address belongs to me, but the shipping address was to Steve Wiebe. That's the reason why my name was on the box when it got to Steve Wiebe's house. Follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. You paid, and it was delivered directly to him. Yeah.
There you go. And the guy's in Utah, a guy I never knew. Now, they during the course of Billy Mitchell trying to hold on to his Donkey Kong score, he wanted to be the champion. I mean, Steve Wiebe, over the course of a year or so, had submitted score after score after score, and they never verified it. There was always some excuse with it. They changed the rules just to make sure. I mean, Bill Mitchell didn't want him to get the record back. And I kept calling Steve, and I kept, pushing him and getting him to get after that record. Now, here's a statement I made. There's always a way to cheat at video games. There's always a way to cheat at video games. Now, here's what I'm talking about. Steve Wiebe, you tell me if you think this is cheating. All right, Steve Wiebe submits the first 1 million point score on Donkey Kong to Twin Galaxies. Twin Galaxies holds up the verification of his score, gives the tape to Billy Mitchell to study it so he can figure out how to get more points. Bill Mitchell gets a legitimate score on Donkey Kong. It's a legitimate score by using Steve Wiebe's tape as a guide to help him play better. He tapes his score. He puts on a date that's earlier than when he's really playing it, and he pretends like he forgot to submit it. So he submits his score, and his score gets verified. Even though the score was done after his, it gets verified as if it was turned in earlier because of the date on his score. He said, I had it in my closet, but I didn't send it in yet. So he pretends like he had it from before when he had just played it, and he changed the date on the tape, and he sends it into Twin Galaxies, and he gets credit for being the first guy to get 1 million points on Donkey Kong. All right? Is that cheating or is that not cheating? You tell me. Assuming that's correct, because we can't prove this. But let's assume what I say is correct. Is that cheating or is it not cheating?
Good question. Well, what do you think, AJ?
Yeah, it could be seen as cheating. I think it's cheating. The guy cheats him out of his score. He's the first guy. As a matter of fact, when the Guinness Book of World Records had taken down his score, Steve Wiebe said, justice has been done. Now I get credit for being the first guy to get 1 million points on Donkey Kong. But now, however, now that Guinness World Records has reinstated Bill Mitchell's scores, that's not true anymore. Now he gets credit for being the first guy to get 1 million points on Donkey Kong.
I mean, not even dating back, I also find it questionable that he was gotten the tape to train, to
just
practice.
Like it says in The King of Kong, Steve Wiebe's friend saying that Bill Mitchell has an opportunity to study Steve Wiebe's tapes and study his technique. That's not fair it's not really fair for Bill Mitchell to study his technique and turn in a score that's predated to get credit for being the first guy to get 1 million points on Donkey Kong. You follow? So that's what I'm referring to when I say there's always a way to cheat at video games, and Bill Mitchell's living proof of it. I mean, not to say Guinness World Records should. I mean, you have to prove that. It's not good enough to assume it. I'm just assuming it. I mean, Steve Weeby's assuming it. It's clear, it's clearly obvious to him, but Steve Weeby had his score in first. Why should Bill Mitchell's get verified first? It doesn't make any sense. But that's the way it is. I mean, Bill Mitchell did in fact do that score, so he deserves credit for it. You have to be objective about these things.
The thing is, with all other type of records, Guinness Book of World Records is very, very picky about what to accept as a valid record. But when it comes to video games, it's like, oh, it's Twin Galaxies. That's probably proper. We don't have to worry about it anymore.
They trust Twin Galaxies to do a proper and fair due diligence to verify scores. But now it's clearly not the case. They've been sending them, especially with this expert player index on Missile Command. It's like psychotic off the wall. I mean, they've took it one step too far. That's clearly BS. There's no doubt about it. So that's that's one of the reasons why Twin Galaxies is no longer supported by Guinness World Records. They booted them out of there. Now, I just want to say, because everybody's listening, I don't represent the Guinness Book of World Records. I haven't had any discussions with the Guinness Book of World Records. I'm not speaking for the Guinness Book of World Records. I'm just making intelligent speculation based on the information that I have. So, I mean, that's the way it is.
So how do you think Twin Galaxies found out that something fishy is going on down at... how did the Guinness Book of World Record find out that something is going fishy at Twin Galaxies?
Well, I'm sure I'm not the only one that complains about them. This expert player index on Missile Command is clearly so wrong. It's not even close. I mean, there's a passage inside the Twin Galaxies record book that says playing Marathon Missile Command is so easy. People play it and they just quit because they're getting tired of playing, which is more or less the case of it. It's extremely easy to play Marathon Missile Command on 10,000 point bonus. So, and making Victor Sandberg the highest expert player just because Tony Temple and Jeff Blair haven't played any Missile Command is ridiculous. There's no comparison. I mean, it's like, So I'm sure there's other things. Like, for instance, this information about Todd Rogers. Those scores, taking down Billy Mitchell's Pac-Man score and Todd Rogers' dragster score is unacceptable. Because now, part of the reason why Twin Galaxies why Guinness World Records printed that they took down the dragster score was based on information that they got from Twin Galaxies. Twin Galaxies, from my knowledge, told them that everybody that they found some experts to say that score was impossible. But now we know that David Crane, the guy who created the game, who's a coder and an engineer, and also the co-founder of Activision. So this guy's a heavyweight. He's no chump. You follow what I'm saying? He says that score is possible. If he says it's possible, has a degree in engineering, then this score is possible. All right. So I think they never should have took his score down. They never should have took the Pac-Man down. And frankly, they've taken down Victor Ali's marathon score because he said that we played. He just gave. That was just a statement he said. When he said we played, he was meaning the people that were helping him, the people that were watching him, the people that were keeping track of what was going on. Probably somebody else was on the camera besides him. He was just playing. And just because he said we played, Twin Galaxies took his score down because he said, well, if we played, other people were playing besides him. I mean, that's just so wrong on so many levels. Because he also said that that if anybody else wants to get this record, they're going to have to stay up and not go to sleep for a couple of days. And why? Well, if he said that, then obviously he's saying that he's the guy who played the whole way through. Just because he said we played, that's no excuse to take down his marathon score. That's how sick that Robert Murzak did it, and Billy Mitchell. They took down Victor Ali's marathon score just to cover themselves for taking down my marathon score in a heinous and dishonest manner. This is what I'm talking about when there's always a way to cheat at video games. and I've said that. I said that on tape, and now they're going to try to use it against me. And I just want everybody to know, don't listen to anything that Robert Murzak and Billy Mitchell in this Donkey Kong Part 2 until you listen to me. They're waiting to attack me and take down my scores after I die. They thought I was dying of cancer or AIDS or some crap like that, which is not true. And it's and they're waiting for it. It's just like if you look on the Twin Galaxies, they were getting ready to take down Victor Sandberg's. He has an 800,000 point score on Missile Command on the website. Did you see it? I mean, on the tournament Missile Command, he has an 8,000 point score. I mean 800,000 point score. Did you see it on the website? He's like in 5th place on the tournament Missile Command arcade. Yeah.
Yep.
See, now you see, if you take a look, that there was a dispute on his score, and then they have the dispute is not where it's not finished. It's not complete yet. They have like a little thing. They haven't completed it. They were hoping to complete it because they thought I'd be dead by now, and they're going to take his score down with my score to cover themselves for taking my score down and using some heinous and dishonest method. So I just want everybody to know, don't believe anything that Twin Galaxies says or Robert or Billy. Billy's full of crap. This Donkey Kong 2 movie is only going to come out if it's favorable to Billy Mitchell, and about a third of it's going to be smearing me every chance they get. So I want everybody to know, don't believe a word that these clowns say until you speak to me first.
There's
I got a
one
funny
thing.
feeling I'm going to outlive Robert Murzak and Billy Mitchell.
As long as I know you are 65, the chance to die at 65 suddenly is pretty low. Anyway, there is one thing we should perhaps point out. We discussed that that Trackster and David Crane topic in the first part already a few months back, and what people probably don't know, I was the one who brought David Crane into the picture, because shortly before the independent outsourced block team of Twin Galaxies, so not part of Chase Hall's inner team, prepared a special article for the news section of their blog regarding Trackster and Todd Rogers, that head of editorial staff asked on his private Facebook page, does anybody know anybody that has been part of Activision when it was founded, can help us with something? And I said, yeah, I know David Crane. And at this point, I didn't know what it was about. So without knowing it myself, I had a hand in this article being published, where, as you quoted, David Crane says, yeah, I think this Trackster record of Todd Rogers is possible. Now I remember AJ said that you will try to speak to David Crane yourself. Did you call him? Did you find things?
I wasn't able to get a hold of him.
Ah.
All right. So I don't know what he's going to say. I'm just going by what you told me. AJ said that David Crane said the score was possible, so that's a whole horse of a different color. They're planning. They're waiting to take. They're going to take down my score, and then they're going to reinstitute Billy. Did they put Billy Mitchell's score back? They haven't put his scores back up on the Donkey Kong forum yet. So they're just waiting for me. They're not gonna put Todd Rogers' score back or Billy Mitchell's Donkey Kong scores back until after they take my Missile Command. They're waiting for the right time to stab me in the back and get away with it. That's where I can't defend myself. That's what they're trying to do. So
I think, AJ, you found something weird about the Missile Command scores, about wrong typed names from.
Yeah, there was a. Yes, there was a. There was in the Twin Galaxies forums or so, they mentioned that I guess early on they had stripped they had stripped your titles or your scores for a bit, but the scores actually remained in the books, just under different names.
Oh, well, I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, and then the third edition,
looks-
it came out with your names back on it, but but every time your name was there, it was intentionally misspelled.
Oh, okay. What, did it have a C in it or something?
Well, I mean, it was every score had a differently spelled name.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of irrelevant, I guess. I mean, somebody's doing the computer work and not spelling the name right.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, that's not that relevant. But
we will
anyway,
link to the sources so people can check it out.
Yeah. It's a weird story.
I mean, I'm just throwing some things out there about things that have been going on with the score, because like, for instance, when they threw me out of I want to mention another thing. There was this rumor that I was thrown at in 2010 at the Hall of Fame induction ceremony in Ottumwa, Iowa in 2010. Billy Mitchell had me removed from the menu. I was forced to leave the building because Billy Mitchell said because I was yelling at Billy Mitchell. I wasn't yelling at Billy Mitchell. I tried to question his scores, and he wouldn't respond. As a matter of fact, the producer of The King of Kong had the cameramen there. The cameramen were filming me. They wanted me to go over and talk to Billy about his scores. I was standing there. The guys who filmed The King of Kong, the guys who filmed the documentary were there. And I was standing right next to him. They wanted me to go over to talk to Billy and film it. And they had a microphone on one of those big long fishing poles.
Yeah,
right.
What do you call those things?
Boom mic.
A boom. And there was a microphone on it. And it was like 3 feet over my head. And they had the boom over me, and I was walking over to talk to Billy, and they were filming me with cameras. The same guys that made the King of Kong documentary. And I'm going over there. I raised my voice a little bit because I want to make sure the boom could hear me. You know, they told me to speak up because the boom was up there. And so I'm telling, hey, Bill, I have a real problem with these scores, blah, blah. And Billy just, it's all, they all have it all on camera. They have it all on film. The whole thing that this supposed yelling at Billy Mitchell. See, Billy Mitchell, you see from his mentality, he always, it's in his mind, he's got this kill or be killed, that mentality. If you don't cheat, somebody's going to cheat you first. If you don't, so he's got it always on his mind that he's trying to take advantage because he figures someone's going to take advantage of him. Now we'll fast forward to the Kong off in 2013. About 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the Kong off, and I'm suspecting they all play on different machines. Nobody plays on the same machine. Everybody has their own Donkey Kong machine. And that's basically a violation of Guinness World Records philosophy, because it says right in the Guinness Book of World Records, each machine is a little bit different. I mean, not a big difference. I mean, it's like running the 200 meters. The world record has never been set in lane 1. The world record holder, whoever has the fastest time, gets his choice of lanes. And if you get a choice of lanes, you have a very, very, very slight advantage. That's, but in a close contest, that can make a difference. All right. So Billy Mitchell's playing on his own machine, and he's not even being filmed. So
I wonder,
They wouldn't wait. Let me finish. Let me go through this whole story. They wouldn't even let me. 2013 at the Kong off was like in November 2013. Richie Knuckles said, "Don't even go near him. You can't go near Billy. Don't talk to Billy. Don't go near his machine. If you do, we're going to have to throw you out of here." Something like that. So I said, "Okay. I don't know. Leave him alone." And then I'm at they're doing an interview on me, and I'm telling them, "You got to keep an eye on Billy. There's always a way to cheat at video games. You have to check his machine. You should be checking his machine, because if he would have been declared the winner of that contest, I would have came in, threw my hands in the air, screaming at the top of my lungs, check to see if Billy Mitchell cheated, check his machine." Because he sent guys to Steve Weeby's house to check his machine, so you got to figure what is up to. He's just playing on his own machine. He's not even being filmed. That's a violation of Guinness Book of World Record rules. How do you know he's even playing the game? For all we know, he could be. Billy Mitchell has turned in a lot of scores on Donkey Kong, like that mortgage brokers convention where he supposedly got 1 million points and more. he didn't get it. He got a legitimate score of 1 million points, but he sure as heck didn't get it at the Mortgage Brokers Convention. He just passed it off as getting there. So you figure if he's playing on his own machine and he's not being filmed and being watched, how do you know he's even playing the game? It could be a video of a game being played and he's not even playing it. How do you know? You gotta film the score. Guinness Book of World Records says film the score being played. That's part of their rules. They're not even filming him. He could be just like sitting there moving the Donkey Kong stick, and there's a game going by, and he's not even playing it. And he could go, oh, got this score, and and how would you know if he was even playing it? That's number one. Check the machine to see if he's got a videotape in there and he's not even playing it. Another reason to check his machine is to see if he's using either a 4-way joystick or an 8-way joystick. If he's using an 8-way joystick, he shouldn't be using it because there's an advantage to using an 8-way joystick. So there's 2 good reasons to check his machine that do not apply to Missile Command. In my Missile Command score, I did a very meticulous job of filming. You could see everything. You could see my hand movements on the trackball. You can see everything, basically everything on the screen. There's no question that I'm playing this game. Now they're going to try to say I cheated because there was something stuck to the back of my computer board. And it's complete nonsense. So I just want to get that out there, that they're trying to stab me in the back. They're going to do it with this King of Kong 2. Billy Mitchell and Robert Merzak, they're working with Steve Wiebe and Ed Cunningham to make this, and whatever it is, it's not going to come out without Bill Mitchell's approval. So I'm just going to try to defend myself before I die of natural causes, because they're planning to come out with this movie after I've passed away. So I just want everyone to know that Richie Knuckles, he approved my score. He had 2 other people looking at it, and I told him, even before he verified it, say, because of what Dwayne Richards said about Steve Wiebe's Donkey Kong score that was held up for 6 months, he said he could prove that the Mario guy was shrunk down to a smaller size so he could go through the maze. That he's saying that he could prove that the ROMs were altered on the board, and if you film the board, you wouldn't be able to tell if the ROMs were altered either way. So I told him, you have to meticulously look at my score to make sure it's legitimate. And he had 2 other people look at it, and he said the score is good. That's what he said. I mean, God only knows what he's going to say now, because he's a friend of Billy's. He approved that score, but Twin Galaxies never put it up on the scoreboard. They put the 1.8 million that I got, but they didn't put up the points at 100 round scores. The one that I cherish the most, the one that makes me the Missile Command champion.
I wonder, are you planning to play Missile Command again to validate your score?
Well, I might have to. I don't know. If Guinness wants me to play again, I guess I will. I've been I've offered to go to England and play on. I wanted Tony Temple to bring his Missile Command machine to the Guinness Book of World Records, and I play it over there. And they haven't gotten back to me on it.
Also, you're actually trying.
I don't think it's really necessary for me to replay it, but if Guinness wants me to replay at least some of the score, I will. I'll try to get it. I don't know if they want me to. I don't think it's really necessary, but I will if Guinness says so. What, did anybody talk to you about it?
No, I'm just wondering. I mean, if they don't approve your old score, try to get a new one.
Well, they've already approved my score. It was printed in the Guinness Book of World Records, 2014.
Right.
That's the reason why Jordan Adler was relieved of duty of custodian of Twin Galaxies, because they didn't when they approved my points at 100 round scores, the 1,147,395 at 100 rounds. They didn't suspect it was going to get into the Guinness Book of World Records, and Billy Mitchell crapped his pants when they saw it in there. They didn't. I submitted it on my own, and part of my verification was the certificate that Richie Knuckles issued me that I paid for. I mean, I paid him to verify those scores. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
sure.
when they didn't think that score would ever be officially recognized, but Billy Mitchell crapped his pants when it got into the Guinness Book of World Records. That really annoyed him.
I mean, you found your workaround.
They're doing everything humanly possible to try to invalidate my score. They're going after this. Like you spoke to Jeff Blair, right?
AJ did.
Yeah,
Yes.
I did, yeah.
Okay, what did Jeff Blair? Does he have any points at 100 round scores available? What did he say?
Yeah, he had he said he had a couple of them filmed, or a bunch of things filmed with high scores, but he didn't want to get involved in any of it.
Did he specifically say anything about a points at 100 round score?
Yeah, but I don't remember what that score was. But,
I thought you said you were going to get your notes and look at it.
Yeah, I did, and I hadn't written that down apparently.
Oh, okay, so he said he had a score, and he submitted it to.
No, he didn't. He didn't submit it to anybody. He got fed up with it and walked away.
Oh, what about the points at 100 round score? Did he say anything about that?
Yeah,
Specifically?
yeah. No, he said he had a lot of scores taped.
Right.
He just.
Well, didn't he say he had a 1,230 something point score at 100 round?
It was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Bill, he told me he had a score like that. I mean, I remember years ago he was telling me about it, and he's tape recording me. He's tape recording me listening to him tell me about the score. And I said, "Congratulations, blah blah blah." I didn't even ask for a copy of it because I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I didn't say his score was illegitimate. I mean, at some point I said, "I believe you." I said it again. I spoke to him recently, and he was pissed off. I said, "Look, Jeff, I believe you, but and I didn't have much time to say anything else. But what I should have said, and I should, comma, I believe you, comma, until you actually submit a score that I can look at, I'm not going to accept it as fact." You follow what I'm saying? I just said I believe you because I didn't want to hurt his feelings. He tape records me saying that I believe him, right? He calls Robert Merzak and hey, Robert, guess what? I just tape recorded Roy Shildt saying that he believes me. Oh, really? Robert Merzak says, oh, that's good. We can use that against him. Robert Merzak, in turn, calls Richie Knuckles and says, hey, guess what? Jeff Blair tape recorded Roy Shildt saying he believes him. Why don't you try to get Roy Shildt to say that he believes you, that Jeff Blair sent you a score a few years ago and that you lost it? Now, you spoke to Richie Knuckles, is that correct? AJ?
Yeah, Jurg actually talked to him.
No, you said you talked to him. You talked to him
We
also.
we talked to him together, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we both spoke
and
to him.
Did he say that he had a score from Jeff Blair, but he lost it and he doesn't have it anymore?
He said that he got a CD that was not meant for submission, just for, I don't know, for reference or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he said he got rid of it because it was not for a submission.
Yeah, when he sold
I
his
see.
shares, when he got rid of his share to Twin Galaxies, he handed over everything he had, but that wasn't meant for submission, so he tossed it.
So he's doing a better job of covering the lies and deception that Robert Merzak told him to engage in. Well, this is interesting, okay? Robert Merzak told him to say that. I don't think there's a possibility. I'm not saying, because I can't prove anything, this is just based on intelligent speculation, that he's just saying that Jeff Blair sent him a score because that way they can cover it, because they want to make Jeff Blair the Missile Command champion because they can't stand seeing me as the Missile Command champion. I hold doubt that Jeff Blair ever sent anything to Richie Knuckles. All right, and I just want everybody to know you can form whatever. Where is this points at 100 round score? I called Jeff Blair. He said he didn't have any scores for me to look at. Jeff Blair was supposed to send me a score if he had one. When he got the 1.8 million score that appears in the Guinness Book of World Records 2011, he's got a score in the Guinness Book of World Records. You are aware of that?
Right.
Okay. That score, he sent me a copy of it. He sent me a copy of that score. If he had a score at 100 rounds, he was supposed to send me a copy. I've never seen one. So until somebody actually sees a score, you have to hold it in doubt whether or not Jeff Blair ever really played one. I mean, that's
Jeff
only
Blair
fair.
doesn't seem interested in going for the record. He's just, he doesn't feel like getting involved or sending in anything.
I just want everybody to know that Robert Merzak, working with Twin Galaxies, because him and Billy Mitchell are the real owners, they're trying to disrupt my entire chain of my verification of my score, so they can stab me in the back and take my scores down. Yeah.
So what you say is basically that Chase Hall is just a puppet.
He's absolutely just a puppet. And that whole thing about this court case with Bill Mitchell, that's just smoke and mirrors. That's just legal theater to bolster his credibility and the credibility of Twin Galaxies. If his scores should be back up. They're planning to reinstate his scores after they take my scores down after I've passed away. After I'm dead, they take my scores down and then put his scores back up. I mean, that's the plan that they have now. God only knows what lies and deception they may change to. It's just like Billy Mitchell. He says he's never seen the King of Kong. I mean, only a fool would even believe he's telling the truth. He might be telling the truth. We don't know. Did you see him watching it? I didn't see him. But the fact of the matter is, I think he's seen it. And he says he hasn't seen it based on intelligent speculation because he can't figure out what lies and deception he'll finally have to do when he finishes this Donkey Kong Part 2. Where he's wearing that white uniform and he's pretending to be something that he's not. Billy, I hope you listen to this podcast because I'm calling you a bitch. You're a lying bitch. Have a nice day.
Well, I mean, the thing is, if I was in a movie, I definitely would want to watch it, especially if I'm one of the two main actors in it that tells a story. So...
Right.
From this point of view, I always would think like, yeah, he probably saw it, but he doesn't want to admit it for some reason. But as you said, it's all
because he doesn't know what lies and deception he's going to need when he comes out with Donkey Kong Part 2. I want everybody to listen to this. When they finally release that film, which includes Richie Knuckles, who's getting a big piece of the profits, and whoever else is in line, and they've even corrupted a guy named Gene Lewin. He's the owner of Vintage Arcade Superstore. I sent my missile. Let me go over my history here. Let me just go over another thing that people have to listen to. Okay, I submitted my 1.8 million point Missile Command score in April of 2009. I finally got a nice one on tape, and I submitted it. They never approved it. They never even got back to me. I called Walter and I said, "Hey, Walter, what's going on with my score?" He never called me back. I left him a message. Now, it never got approved. 2 months later, they changed the rules. Something about wire. You have to film wires coming out of the back of the machine. They never approved that score for 4 years. Now, I've been playing I've been playing Missile Command over the summer, and that was it. I mean, I was done. I mean, they didn't approve it. They didn't get back to me. I thought I was done. This was the end of the road. And it's the summertime, and my wife's getting pissed off at me because she wants the Missile Command machine to go. It's because we don't have a lot. I live in a bachelor's apartment, and the machine's going to break down sooner or later anyway. So she kept pressuring me to get rid of it. I said, okay, I'm going to get rid of it. I'll get rid of it on Labor Day because Labor Day is when the school year starts. So I said, okay, I'm just dealing with Twin Galaxies. If I don't hear anything, I'm going to send it back. I'll get rid of it on Labor Day. On Labor Day, I sent it back to Vintage Arcade Superstore. The guy came and picked it up. Some guy named George. He picked it up. This is like 10 years ago, right? And that was, they were going to sell it on eBay. You know, I was working with it. We wanted to try to sell it on eBay, blah, blah, blah. And what happened was it never got sold. It was over there. Now, Jeff Blair calls me sometime over Christmas time. Somebody sends me an email with his cell phone number in it, and I called Jeff Blair at Christmas time, and I say, Jeff, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And he's telling me about this, that, and we're talking about Missile Command, and I wanted him to break the Missile Command record. He said he's getting these scores near 2 million points on Missile Command. I said, great, you should submit it. And he's playing on the slow cursor like I play, and he keeps complaining, well, what's going on? Tony Temple plays on the fast cursor. I play on the slow cursor. And I'm saying, well, they're saying that one of the reasons, I heard a rumor, one of the reasons why they didn't approve my score in April was because they said it was impossible to get that score on that setting. He said that he must have cheated. He must have used the fast. They say that back in 1985 I played on the fast cursor, and I didn't play on the slow cursor, and I said, well, I replayed the score, and now they're saying I must have cheated somehow because I must have played on the fast cursor. I said, well, what am I going to do? I've replayed the score. What do you want me to do? So I told Jeff, don't let him. I wanted Jeff to submit a score because I already submitted a score, but they wouldn't approve it. Why don't you submit? They'll approve yours. So I wanted him to submit a score to prove that score was possible. And finally, I went to see him in May of 2010. I went over there because I go to New York on occasion because I'm from New York, and I was planning to go to New York that springtime. So I went over there to play some Missile Command with him. I went over there to help him with his point pressing because I explained to him. I said, Jeff, I wanted him to break my score so bad, I would have done anything to get him to do it. I would have got on my hands and knees and begged him to do it. I want him to play that score to prove once and for all that score is possible. So that's the reason I went out there. There was never. They're trying to make it look like there was some kind of official matchup between me and him. They're saying that I'm lying, that I never sent my machine in on Labor Day. And this is just a ruse because I didn't do so well. I only got like 600,000 points when I was at Jeff Blair's place, and they're saying that I'm lying. They're trying to say that I cheated. And Gene Lewin, he's going along with it. Because I spoke to him. He remembers the machine coming in sometime during Christmas because the machine was at his place. He sent it to the San Diego Comic-Con in 2010 without my permission, and when I found out about it, I wanted part of the profits on the machine, and we had a big argument. Look, you sent my Missile Command machine to San Diego without my permission. You should give me some of the money. And then he said, well, what about all the months of storage that your machine has been here? And he remembered that it came in. He couldn't remember Labor Day, but he remembered it came in sometime during Christmas. Which he conveniently forgot. Now he can't remember a damn thing. Oh, I don't know when that machine came in. Blah, 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 blah. I don't want to say anything else. They're trying to make it look like that I lied about sending my machine in on Labor Day. They're trying to make it look like that I went to Jeff Blair's house and I was fully loaded, prepared for a showdown match. That's not the case. I went in there to help Jeff Blair. I gave him copies of my scores to use as a guide to help him increase his playing ability. I wanted him, when he beat my record, I was twice as happy as he was because now they couldn't go around jerking the world off, making Tony Temple the Missile Command champion because that title belongs to Jeff Blair. Until they... when they first recognized that score of his, he should have been the official Missile Command champion, not Tony Temple, in my opinion. Because when he submitted that score, he had a point total of 1,040,000 at 100 rounds. That should have been the official Missile Command score at that time. Do you follow what I'm saying? Because it's all about points. All right, so that's the story there, and the reason why Jeff Blair knows my scores are genuine because when I was there, I only got 600,000 points, but when we were down to one city left, I was able to get more points per round than he did, and that's a significant factor. So I don't know what Jeff Blair is going to say now. There never was like an official matchup between him and me. I never said there was. I never said there wasn't. I just went in there. We played. There was a friendly scrimmage, but he's saying there was an official matchup, and that's just not the. If he's saying that's not true. But then again, they're just trying. They're looking for every possible twisted freaking reason to make it look like I cheated somehow. And I want everybody to know: don't listen to a freaking word that Gene Lewin says, that Jeff Blair says, or Richie Knuckles says. Don't take anything they say at face value until you talk to me first, and we'll see who lives the longest. That's how crazy these people are. What can I tell you?
Well, this arcade high score thing is not an easy topic at all.
Well, see, Billy Mitchell is like Donald Trump. He thinks he can do whatever he wants when he feels like it. Donald Trump, Harvey Weinstein, Billy Mitchell, Adolf Hitler. They're all the same. They all think they can just make the rules up whenever they feel like it and get away with it. The problem with Adolf Hitler, they should have whacked his ass before the war started instead of trying to blow him up later.
Well, you're always more.
You never know. That's what happens when a scumbag gets in charge. You never know what's going to go wrong. You know.
You always know better when it's too late. Right.
Yep. There you go. Well, you know, you can tell I'm highly emotional about this. So you know.
Oh, definitely. I have no idea how it is to be a professional or
I don't
a
want
high
to say
school
anything
player.
about it. I just want everybody to know that Gene Lewin was tape recording me without my permission, and I'm really worried about it because they're going to use it in a despicable. I mean, they actually got Gene Lewin to tape record me. I know. I could tell there was something wrong. There was something funny about him. Don't believe anything that Gene Lewin says, Richie Knuckles says, or Jeff Blair says until you talk to me first. We'll see what this final product's gonna be like. Because I have more information that I'm holding some cards I'm not showing. Hey Robert, Robert Merzak, I'm holding some cards I'm not showing. Better be careful, you lying, cheating bastard. Be careful with this fraud and deception that you use in the future. So why don't you take it and shove it up Billy's ass, you bitch? Make sure Robert Merzak hears that. Right? Hey, Robert, screw you.
I hope that he does, because one of the threads that has gone through this is has Robert Merzak called us or anyone gotten in touch with us, and nobody has so far. And I really, really want to get a phone call or something or an email or something from Robert Merzak, because the more we dig into this, the more like
dirt is coming up.
You spoke to Richie Knuckles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told him he was going to listen. You told him he was going to. He told you he was going to listen to the podcast, right?
I sent him the URL to the podcast, and I sent it to you.
Hey, AJ, didn't Richie Knuckles say he was going to? Okay, well that's a guarantee. Robert Merzak has listened to the podcast. He's absolutely 100% certain listened to the podcast.
Right.
Well, if he wants to contact us, podcast@sceneworld.org.
I would love it. Yeah.
He needs some time to figure out what lies and deception he needs to use to take down my Missile Command score. Because I got news for you. I mean, when I did my Missile Command score, there's another thing I have to say. The first thing I did was open up my machine because the flashlight was supposed to be inside my cabinet. That's the reason why I opened up the machine right after my gameplay started. I mean, I didn't have to film that board. All I had to do was have someone verify that it was the same board that was in there. Now they're trying to say, I already know what Robert Merzak, they're trying to say I had something plastered. There was something behind the board that was altering my gameplay or something like that. They've changed the rules again. Now you got to take the board out and film the back of the board because they're going to use that to try to invalidate my Missile Command scores. But the fact of the matter is, I already told Richie Knuckles to review that film carefully as if the ROMs had been altered anyway. So it doesn't, I mean, from that perspective, it really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, we just,
we'll see what lies and deception they come up with next.
Yeah, Robert Merzak.
We'll just have to wait and see.
It's podcast@sceneworld.org or contact@sceneworld.org. By all means, message us, contact us, because the more we dig into this, the more like valid all this seems, the more shady things seem to get, and I would love to dig into this further.
I mean, I can't. I mean, like I said once again, I don't speak for the Guinness Book of World Records. I don't represent the Guinness Book of World Records. This is based on intelligence speculation alone. So, I mean, obviously, Twin Galaxies got booted out of Guinness World Records. So, you might want to contact them. I don't think they're going to say anything. If I was Guinness World Records, I wouldn't say anything to anybody either. It's just too crazy. You know, why aggravate the living crap out of yourself over these idiots? I mean, I'm just glad they finally got rid of them because they're never going to get back in now, as far as I could see. They certainly don't deserve to be in there.
Right.
Well, Guinness
not my fault. Wait a second. There's one more thing I need to say. Very important. I went to Jace Hall's office to try to straighten him out. This is like somewhere around, I can't remember, somewhere around 2018 or so. He's filming me with a camera. I tried to help Twin Galaxies. I tried to straighten him out. I went in there to play, and I started playing Missile Command on his machine. He's got a really nice Missile Command machine there, and I played a game on it. It was a warm-up game I hadn't played for a really long time, and I was supposed to come back and play some more, but he wouldn't let me back in the office. I tried to straighten him out. I tried to help Twin Galaxies. I'm not the bad guy here. I don't want to see Twin Galaxies booted out of the Guinness Book of World Records. I was trying to make them, working with Jace Hall. I stuck my neck out to do the right thing, help them play. I went up there to play Missile Command. The show, he could have let me back in there. I could have came back a few times because I was on disability leave from my job. I could have came back and played some Missile Command if they were that curious to watch me play, but they refused to let me play. But let me continue on. I tried to help him. I explained to him what he was doing wrong. I explained to him the changes he needed to make, and he wouldn't do it. He didn't do it. I tried everything. I didn't want to see Twin Galaxies get booted out of the Guinness Book of World Records, but he refused to do anything. He refused to let me play. He refused to make the changes to Missile Command and other mistakes that he was making. I was trying to counsel him. I was trying to help him, and he didn't do it. So I filed a complaint with the Guinness Book of World Records. They never got back to me, but I'm sure it had something to do with them getting booted. Don't blame me. I'm not the bad guy here. I want all the gamers out there that are saddened because Twin Galaxies is not in the Guinness Book of World Records. That was never my intention. That's the reason why I went up to Jace Hall's office in the first place, to straighten him out and do the right thing. They don't do the right thing. They do what that sick bastard Billy tells them to do, and that crazy bastard Robert Murzak. Your villains are Billy Mitchell and Robert Murzak, not me.
We've been saying forever that there needs to be another gatekeeper for high scores in Twin Galaxies because every time we deal with Twin Galaxies, it's like it's the biggest headache that we can possibly, it's there's always something shady or something weird going on with Twin Galaxies, and it's gotten to the point where it's like they should not be the gatekeepers for high scores anymore. It's like we need a third party that is not them. And
you're going to have to do it on your own. You can get into the Guinness Book of World Records. It's a real pain in the ass. Let me tell you something about Jeff Blair. When I went to his house, he's a really good player. When I was at his house, like I said, I would do anything to get him to get. First of all,
that was he prefaced.
Let me say this. Wait a second. Let me finish. Let me get this out here. He didn't even have a Missile Command board. He had what's called a Brazington Missile Command board. It's like a knockoff board that has Super Missile Attack and Missile Command on the same board. So when I got there, anything I would have done there wouldn't have counted anyway because it wasn't an original Missile Command board. Another reason why I wasn't properly prepared. I mean, I went in, I went to Vintage Arcade. I can go down there. I played Missile Command for a couple of weeks before I went to Jeff's Blair, but I wasn't on top of my game. No big deal. I mean, if I wanted to prepare for this supposed matchup between him and me, I could have easily had the machine sent back to my house, but I didn't because there was no need to. I wanted him to get the Missile Command record, and when I was there, he's a really good player. He's almost as good as I am. He got a score over 1 million points. That if he would have, but he didn't quite make it to the 100th round. That's the problem. But if he would have made it, he only missed it by about. Let me finish. Yeah. He only missed it by like about six or eight boards. He was like at board 93 or board 94 or something like that. If he would have hauled that one in, he would have had like a 1,160,000 at 100 rounds. He was definitely on pace. There's no doubt in my mind he has the ability to beat the 1,147,000 if he pulled out all the stops and did whatever he could and played as hard as he could. He would almost there's like an 85% chance he'd be able to get that score because I've had scores. I also had a game not over there summertime in the past. I had it back in October. I was on pace for 1,190,000, but I crapped out. I didn't get to the 100th round either. But I know that Jeff Blair could beat the 1,147,000. But I also have a 1,175,000. I have a 1,175,105 at 100 rounds. Okay, that has the exact same credibility as the 1.8 million that's on the Twin Galaxies scoreboard right now. Now, if Richie Knuckles, I don't know what lies and deception that Robert Murzak and Billy might have Richie Knuckles say. I'm just guessing, but if he wasn't satisfied with that score, I could have submitted the 1,175,105, and he could have used that one instead. But he approved that one because he did a really good job and had other people examine it closely. So I don't know what lies and deception they're going to try to say that I had something stuck behind the Missile Command board. Blah blah blah. It's complete nonsense, and we'll just have to wait to see what lies and deception they come out with in the future. But I just want you to know that Jeff Blair, he definitely has the capability to beat the 1,147,000. Now, the 1,175,000, that's a different story. Now, if he wants to beat the 1,147,000, he's got to go and do it live. If he wants to play it from his house, then he's got to beat the 1,175,000. And I don't think he might not be able to do that.
Yeah, well, and
so
when we spoke to Jeff, when I talked to Jeff Blair, and I don't, when we talk to these people, we don't usually record the conversations because that's not cool. He did make the comment. I think the first comment he made was that he is the number one Missile Command player in the world, but he had the exact same thing to say about you. Is that if there's anyone that can keep up with him, it's you, and you are totally capable of getting those scores as well.
I just want to say one thing. Jeff Blair is a great guy. I really hate. I mean, I just wanted. There was never an official matchup between him and me, but then again, they never said there wasn't one. But I have real question that he ever has a score. And he says he has a score on tape, and that might not be true. That might not be true. So you got to you just It's just like President Obama says, we live in a country where the truth doesn't matter anymore. I mean, you got. I'm as guilty as O.J. Simpson is innocent. People wonder why is Roy Shildt so worried? What's up? He must be guilty. Hey, I'm as guilty as O.J. Simpson is innocent. Should I be worried? You're damn right I'm worried. The President of the United States gets on the television and says the truth doesn't matter anymore. I think everybody should be worried. You got to come down on people like that. Adolf Hitler, Donald Trump, Harvey Weinstein, Billy Mitchell. Whenever you let a scumbag get away with the BS that they do, the price you pay is always greater in the future. You look the other way and say, well, we'll just let this go. Not going to happen on my watch. All right, now I've said what I had to say. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for sitting with us. Yeah, I mean, it's been an interesting trip, and one of the reasons that we really did want to do a two-parter with this is that the further in we dig to it, the more there are these little bits of weirdness that lend credence to what you're saying, and it's like you're talking about these people that are operating against you and kind of trying to screw things over, and it's like they're not doing a very good job of covering their tracks when you start to dig into it.
It's like taking down Victor Ali's Missile Command score. I mean, how ridiculous is that? I'm sure that Guinness Book of World Records isn't going along with that, but that's just a guess. I mean, I have no communication with the Guinness Book of World Records. I don't speak for the Guinness Book of World Records, so I don't want anyone to get misconstrued about my association with the Guinness Book of World Records. As a matter of fact, the Guinness Book of World Records charged me $750 to publish my score because that's part of what the administration fees that you have to pay. And hey, I'm glad to pay. It's money well spent. I mean, nobody works for free. They're going to try to make it look like I tried to pay off Gene Lewin to lie about bringing in my Missile Command score. I pay him for everything. Even when he went to Laser Blazer, he charged me $26 for parking and gas. He didn't even have any parking, and the gas might have been $5. Gene Lewin charges for everything. That's just, and I'm not complaining about it. But don't tape record me without my knowledge and make it look into something that it's not.
Right. Here's the thing I was mentioning to you that we mentioned before, the Twin Galaxies forum, and this was posted in February of 2019, so it's fairly recent. And it is it's some Twin Galaxies oddities. around the second second Twin Galaxies book of records, and this person, the guy that's writing it, is Ursat's Katz. I don't know who he is, but he says,
Is it a he or a she?
I think it's a he. But it says Roy Shildt, a.k.a. Mr. Awesome, is best known for his Missile Command score from 1985. This is in the first edition of the Twin Galaxies Books of Records from 1998, the Blue Book. The score has been the subject of much argument between Shildt, Mertzak, and Walter Day, which is a story for another time. But Roy also has scores for 4 other games in the first Twin Galaxies book. 8,899,200 on Cheyenne, 87,000 on Karate Champ, 47,044 on Mad Crasher, and 703,410 on Return of the Jedi. Each of these were achieved at Coronation Day, a Twin Galaxies-sponsored tournament at an arcade in Los Angeles in January of '85.
Right.
So, in the first Twin Galaxies book, there's the scores with your name on them.
Right.
Okay. Here's where things get interesting. These 4 scores are still in the second edition of the Twin Galaxies Book of Records in 2007, but only one is still attributed to Roy. The other 3, same score, same date, same location, are now attributed to a Burton Millward. The same is true for a newer Missile Command score achieved in 2006. Shilt's name was restored for those 4 scores in the third edition of the book in 2009, and his contested 85 Missile Command score was restored as well. However, in each of the cases where his name or score was restored, his name is misspelled, just as it is misspelled on today's Twin Galaxies leaderboard. So there's a Roy M. Shildt, and it's, there's one that's SHILDT, SCHILDT. There's like if you can figure out a way to misspell your name, they'll do it. So who exactly is Burton Millward? Given the circumstances, I don't
even know who that is.
The guy says, given the circumstances, I was kind of expecting it to be a fake name, but he is in fact a real person. He was an attorney and historian, and, stop me if this sounds familiar, a practitioner of transcendental meditation at the Maharishi Dome in Fairfield, Iowa.
Yeah, that's where Walter Day goes to practice.
Uh-huh. Yep. When I asked Mertzak about this, he was completely unaware. The 2007 book was released after he resigned, and aside from his years of score adjudication, he had no direct hand in its productions. So this guy came up with the conclusion that Millward was offering legal assistance to Walter Day regarding Shilt's various legal threats pertaining to his contested Missile Command score. Thus, the name replacement would have been a jab at Roy, perhaps only one he would have noticed when he went to look up his scores.
Oh,
but
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, but a lot of people also said that what's his name? Oh, good Lord, I already forgot his name. Walter Day. Walter Day doesn't have that. Walter Day isn't quite that vindictive about going after people like that.
Well, Billy Mitchell presses him. Billy Mitchell presses Walter Day to have a negative attitude towards me. That's the way it is. I mean, Billy is the guy who controls. He controls the purse strings. He's the when Twin Galaxies went corporate, Billy Mitchell put up most of the money.
Yeah. Well, one commenter says that one of Walter's worst attributes, rather, a blessing and a curse, is that he does all he can to avoid confrontation, and he doesn't seem like the type to purposely sneak an FU to anybody, even on cases he was provoked. But yeah, it's a very like we talked to you in our first interview with you, and we said, okay, well, that's interesting, and then we started going into doing some background research, some more background research. And we start finding stuff like this, and it's like there is really some stuff that goes into. There's some really weird stuff, and then actually Robert Mertzak replied. He added a comment in this thread that said, "I recall personally deleting all of Roy's scores from the Twin Galaxies database immediately prior to my departure. on the grounds that he had been lying about his 2 missile command scores for years, and after discussing with the then Board of Referees and based on a statute available from Walter's own first book. Unfortunately, Walter disagreed with that decision. I refused to reinstate them, and that was one of the 3 reasons I quit. No idea.
He didn't quit. He was forced to resign for lying to Guinness World Record.
Yeah. No idea how this
He was trying to
Millward got
cover
in.
himself.
Yeah, he says, no idea how this Millward got into that second book. I was gone from Twin Galaxies at that point. So exactly how Roy scores...
Yeah, well, he says he took down my marathon score because I couldn't remember anything.
Yeah,
That's
he
what
also
said.
says he has no idea
There's nothing to remember. There's nothing to remember. You put a quarter in the machine. If the machine stops, malfunctions and goes and start, and you have to put another quarter, and there's a certain amount of time that you're allowed, depending on how much break time you have saved up, and all of this. And you put another quarter and you just continue on. It's called stitch scores. They had a whole thing about it when they took down Victor Ali's score. Victor Ali did the same thing. It's called stitch scores, and it was allowed. That is. They took it down because he said we played. This is just because he said we played. That's it. That was the major thing that they took it down for. I'm pretty sure they're planning to reinstate it after they take my after I die. They're going to take down my scores and then put back Todd Rogers' dragster. They're going to put back Victor Ali's score, and then they're going to put back all of Billy's Donkey Kong scores. It's just waiting for me to die, take my scores down, and then put the other scores back. It's just part of the never-ending fraud and deception that Robert Merzak deals in. He's trying to get. He thinks it's my fault that he got thrown out of. He had to resign, and that Guinness forced him to resign. He blames me.
Yeah,
it's not my fault. Blame yourself.
Yeah,
I didn't have nothing to do with it.
Because he says, Merzak says, I have no idea how Roy's scores were entered into the database, as that was no longer privy or accessible to such info. Same for the continuation of proofreading effort on the second book. He also doesn't understand why he has scores in the book for Strikers 1945 Part 3, when he never played the game before and FunSpot never even had the game in its library. So, I mean, there is some really weird stuff happening at Twin Galaxies, and we've been saying for a couple of years now that Twin Galaxies needs to go away. They need to be not the people that decide, that they should not be the people that keep tabs on these scores because there's
Twin
so
Galaxies,
many.
the reoccurring cancer.
Yeah.
You thought you got rid of it, and then all of a sudden oh my God, the cancer's coming back.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, the radiation didn't take care of it. But yeah, I mean,
there's a few cells left that you didn't kill, so now all of a sudden they started multiplying again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah, and it's because there's so many personalities involved, and they are big personalities. Billy Mitchell is a big personality. You are a big personality. Walter Day is a big personality. Despite the fact that when we talked to him, he was like boxing up books because he couldn't pay his rent. Do you remember that, Jörg?
Yes, he was so happy when I said, I will order one.
Yeah, we'll buy a book from you, because he's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought the book for $70 during the podcast, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a first. Was a first, yeah.
But I mean, there's all these big personalities involved in it, and when you get big personalities involved, there's going to be clashes, and there's going to be
heat.
Yes. So it's we need like
neutral.
Yeah, we need a neutral group of people that have no idea how video games work. That can just look at the number and be like, okay.
That sounds legit.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Mm. Well, wow. I mean, this is how we pass an hour. Oh my God. Right.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. Then I guess I'll talk to you in a week or so.
Yes.
Yeah. Talk to you then.
Right, great. Well, have a great day then.
Yes. You too.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Take care. Bye.
Yep.
You too.
Now that the podcast is finished, I want to cover two details that we just spoke about. And then the first one is when I paid Richie Knuckles, I paid him for two certificates. I paid him for the 1.8 million Missile Command score that's on the Twin Galaxies website, and I also paid him for the score points at 100 rounds. I paid him as a Twin Galaxies referee. It wasn't a personal payment. I did pay him personally because he was an owner of Twin Galaxies, but I just paid him just like anybody else, just to get my certificates and get my scores verified, just like I paid Guinness World Records. And then point number two, I mean, I should only have to replay my scores if it's necessary. I mean, if they can prove that I cheated, but I'd be more than happy to as a courtesy roll the machine for Guinness World Records and get at least 1 million points at 100 rounds. So, and I've also offered to take a lie detector test, but they said that they haven't required anything. So I guess we're finished with it.